They passed each other every day. Dock C, Corridor 7. Same time, same traffic flow. Shift change overlap. The human always acknowledged her, nothing intrusive. A nod. Sometimes a brief morning. Occasionally a half smile when the corridor was crowded and they had to sidestep each other. She never responded. Not out of hostility, it simply wasn't done. Her species didn't vocalize acknowledgments to strangers. Eye contact was functional. Smiling had no social meaning. Acknowledgement without purpose was inefficient. She had noticed, though, not him exactly, the behavior. Humans did it to everyone. The nodding, the noises, the inexplicable friendliness toward beings they had no reason to interact with. She assumed it was a neurological quirk. She was humanoid. Same general shape, same posture, same hands that could fit the same tools. But her skin carried a matte copper-bronze tone that shifted subtly with lighting and with mood. In calm moments, it looked warm and steady. Under stress, it deepened. In certain lights, it went almost gold. Then the station shook. Not a vibration, an impact. Structural, violent, wrong. The lights went out. Emergency strips flickered to life in harsh red. Alarms layered over each other in panicked intervals. Impact alert. Hull breach detected. Evacuate immediately. She was already moving when the second shock hit. Dock workers poured into the evacuation lanes. Shuttles detached in rapid sequence. Pods launched the moment they reached capacity. The procedures worked. Mostly. By the time she reached the auxiliary junction, the corridors were empty. Too empty. She slowed, listening. Only the distant howl of venting atmosphere answered her. She turned a corner and nearly collided with the human. He stopped short, hands up reflexively. Whoa, sorry. Recognition flickered between them, faint but undeniable. You, he said, unnecessary but honest. She nodded once, the closest thing to agreement. Didn't you make the pods? He asked. She shook her head.
They launched before my section cleared.
He grimaced. Yeah, same. Another tremor rippled through the deck. Somewhere metal screamed as pressure gave way.
Air's leaking fast, she said. Dock C won't hold.
I know, he replied. That's why I'm here. He pointed down the corridor toward the older shipyards. There's an abandoned shuttle. Maintenance wrote it off years ago.
Her jaw tightened. That shuttle does not function.
Probably not, he agreed. But it exists.
She stared at him. That is not a plan.
He met her gaze, calm but urgent. Do you have a better one? She searched her memory. Evac maps, emergency protocols, probability trees.
No, she admitted.
Then we're aligned, he said. Let's go. Another warning klaxon sounded, closer this time. She hesitated only a fraction of a second before following him. They ran side by side through the skeletal docking yards. Massive silhouettes of unfinished ships loomed in the emergency lighting. The air grew thinner, colder. Then he swerved off course without warning. She followed on reflex, then nearly collided with him as he yanked a utility cart loose.
What?
Tools, he said, already moving. He ripped open a storage crate and dumped a handful of general-use repair kits into the cart. Then a sealed case of food bars. Bottled water followed, clattering hard against the metal frame.
She stared at him. What are you doing?
The shuttle's stripped, he said, not slowing. Grab anything useful. Another tremor rocked the deck. Somewhere behind them, something large tore free. She didn't argue. She pivoted and sprinted for the nearest locker.
Power packs, she said, tossing 2 into the cart. Fully charged.
Good.
Fuel cells, she added, skimming labels. Low grade but stable.
He swung open another compartment. Air scrubbers.
She caught one and shoved it into the pile. Filters too, extra.
Sealant.
Thermal blankets. She clipped a compact diagnostic unit to her belt. If the shuttle flies, it won't like it.
It doesn't have to like it, he said, pushing the cart harder. just has to listen. They ran shoulder to shoulder now, trading words only when they mattered.
Spare couplings.
Pressure masks?
Manual nav chip.
Got it. The cart rattled, overloaded but intact. When they reached the shuttle bay, both of them were breathing hard, not from panic but from exertion. They stopped at the ramp, looked at the pile of scavenged survival, and then at each other. For the first time, she didn't see him as the human who nodded in the hall. She saw someone who assumed the future existed and prepared for it. The shuttle was exactly where he said it would be. Ugly, scarred, forgotten.
She stopped short. Its systems are offline. As she hit the airlock open button.
We don't need all of them, he said, already climbing inside. Just enough.
Enough for what?
To leave. She followed him in, sealing the hatch behind them as another section of the station depressurized. The silence inside the shuttle was heavy. The air inside was stale, cold, unmoving.
What happens if it fails? She asked.
He looked at the controls, hands steady, expression thoughtful. Then we'll know we tried, he said. But I'd rather worry about what comes next after we're not suffocating. She studied him. This human who smiled in hallways, who acknowledged strangers, who didn't freeze when everything broke.
Very well, she said, taking the co-pilot seat. What do you need me to do?
He glanced at her, surprised and quietly pleased. First, he said, tell me what still works. The shuttle hummed faintly as emergency power came online. Lights flickered.
Emergency power's nearly gone, she said.
For the first time since she'd boarded the station, she smiled.
She took one look at the cockpit and said, I'll get it powered.
He nodded without hesitation. Good, I'll check the engine. They split immediately, no argument, no confirmation. Just motion. The shuttle was worse up close. Panels were missing. Wiring hung in loose bundles. Someone had stripped anything that could be resold years ago and left the rest to rot.
Cockpit's dead, she called. No standby power.
Expected, he replied from aft. Metal clanged as he opened a panel. Engine housing's intact. Fuel lines look questionable. She slammed a power pack into an auxiliary port. The lights flickered once, then died.
Power bus is unstable, she said. I can reroute, but it'll be ugly.
Ugly's fine, he said. Exploding's not. They worked apart, but not alone. Jonah crouched in the aft accessway, one shoulder braced against the hull as he slid a diagnostic lead into place. The engine bay was dark except for intermittent flickers of emergency lighting. Just enough to see the shape of the machinery, not enough to trust it. Fuel pressure is oscillating, he called. Not enough to trip alarms, enough to be annoying.
Copy, she replied from the cockpit. I see it. It's pulling from the wrong side of the regulator.
Before he could answer, the oscillation flattened. Jonah paused. Did you just...
Yes, she said. I rerouted the feed.
He let out a slow breath and nodded to himself, then went back to work. A metallic clang echoed through the shuttle's spine, sharp, hollow, followed by a faint rattle. Jonah stiffened. That sounded like...
Panel latch, she said immediately. It shook loose when you surged power. It's secured now.
He didn't ask how she knew. He just adjusted the surge curve and watched the vibration fade. They fell into a pattern. Not conversation, not silence, information. Power draws uneven across the secondary bus.
I can see it. I'll compensate.
Don't. He stopped himself. Actually, go ahead. She did. The shuttle shuddered, then settled. Jonah blinked. That shouldn't have worked. He made a note to ask later if there was a later. Another tremor rippled through the station. Not close enough to tear metal, but close enough to feel. Jonah reached up and steadied a hanging conduit just before it slipped free.
From the cockpit. That one almost went.
Yeah, he said. I caught it.
I know.
That made him pause. He hadn't said anything yet. How did you...
I heard the frequency change, she replied, like it was obvious. The resonance shifted.
Jonah stared at the conduit, then laughed quietly. Right, he said. Of course you did. He slid farther into the accessway, bringing up engine diagnostics that hadn't been powered in years. Most of them were lying. He ignored those and focused on the ones that weren't. The engine wasn't fighting him, it was waiting. He adjusted fuel mix in tiny increments, counting heartbeats between changes.
From the cockpit, she said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Was planning to. Another bang, this one duller, deeper. Jonah winced. That sounded structural.
Bulkhead flex, she said, within tolerance. Barely.
Barely is my favorite kind, he muttered. She didn't respond, but a second later the power distribution smoothed out again. Jonah glanced at the diagnostic readout and frowned. You're pulling from the auxiliary capacitor, he said.
Yes.
That's bold.
It was unused, she replied, and it was bothering me.
He shook his head, smiling despite himself. Remind me never to annoy you. A new vibration crept into the hull, low, uneven, the kind that turned into something worse if ignored. Jonah didn't announce it. He adjusted thrust balance and watched the waveform stabilize.
From the cockpit, she said, good.
That was all. Another tremor hit the station, closer this time. Something heavy tore loose somewhere beyond the hull.
Brace, she said, already shifting power.
Jonah didn't brace. He grabbed a handhold, angled his body, and waited. The impact rolled through the shuttle. Panels rattled. Something fell, but not near him. A beat passed.
Then, you anticipated it, she said.
So did you, he replied. Silence, not awkward, not tense, just present. They worked like that for several minutes. Maybe longer. Time was slippery here. Jonah stopped noticing how long he'd been crouched in the accessway. She stopped calling out every adjustment she made. They were starting to assume. At one point, Jonah reached for a relay.
Don't, she said at the same instant.
He froze. Why?
Because if you do, the bus will trip and we lose cockpit power.
He slowly withdrew his hand. Good call.
You were about to do it anyway, she said.
Yeah. Another pause.
Then unexpectedly, thank you, she said.
He blinked. For what?
For not arguing, she replied. Most people do.
He considered that. Most people don't sound as sure as you do. She didn't answer, but when the next vibration ran through the hull, the power didn't waver. Jonah leaned back against the bulkhead for a moment, listening to the engine hum. Rough, imperfect, but alive.
From the cockpit, she said, status?
He checked the readout. It wants to run, that's new.
That's encouraging.
Don't jinx it. A second passed and
Then she said, we work well together.
Jonah smiled faintly in the dark. Yeah, I noticed. And for the first time since he'd crawled into the engine bay, he believed they might actually make it out. Another tremor hit the station. The shuttle creaked in protest. She rerouted the power manually, bypassing safeties that assumed a functioning station around them.
Primary systems waking, she shouted. Navigation's offline. Sensors minimal.
Engine diagnostics are lying to me, he said, which means they're scared. She almost smiled.
I'm switching to life support, she said. Air's getting thin.
No, he said.
She paused. What?
Main power first, he said, voice sharp but controlled. Life support doesn't matter if we can't leave. She hesitated, then nodded even though he couldn't see it.
Understood.
She rerouted again. The shuttle shuddered as power surged unevenly through ancient conduits.
Main bus is live, she called. Not stable, but alive.
I've got ignition authority, he said. Fuel pressure is garbage.
Do you need me to?
Already compensating. The alarms changed tone. Not station alarms anymore. Shuttle alarms.
Engine spin-up in progress, she said, reading the flickering display. You're pulling more power than recommended.
Recommended assumes we have time, he replied. The deck lurched as the station took another hit, this one close. The sound of tearing metal roared through the hull.
Structural integrity is failing, she said. Hull breach expanding.
Yeah, he said. I can hear it. The engine coughed. Once. Twice. Then it caught. The shuttle vibrated violently, but it was a living vibration now. Thrust is unstable, he said, but it's thrust.
Flight controls are barely responding, she replied. Manual override only.
I like manual. The station wall ahead of them simply ceased to exist. A massive section of hull tore free, exposing stars and debris in a chaotic spray. That's our exit, he said. She didn't argue. She slammed the launch controls. The shuttle lurched forward, scraping past jagged metal as the station tore itself apart behind them. For a terrifying second, the engines faltered. Then they cleared the debris field. Silence, no alarms, no impacts. Just the steady burn of engines and the endless black beyond the viewport. She exhaled slowly and leaned back in her seat.
We're off the station, she said.
Yeah, he replied after a moment. Looks like it. They didn't speak after that. They didn't need to. The shuttle drifted onward, held together by old metal, borrowed power, and the unspoken understanding that neither of them had panicked when it mattered. Whatever came next, they'd already proven they could face it together. The shuttle drifted clear of the wreckage, engines settling into an uneven but steady burn. He let his hands rest on the controls for a moment longer than necessary, then said, "Okay, we're out. And safe." She glanced at the readouts, then at the stars filling the viewport.
Safe? She questioned.
He tilted his head, considering. Well, safe adjacent. She stared at him for half a second. Then she smiled, her bronze warming toward something brighter in the dim light.
Life support now? She asked.
He nodded. Please. She was already moving, fingers flying over panels, pulling one of the scavenged air scrubbers from the cart and cracking it open. I'll try to get the comms working, he added, swiveling his seat back toward a secondary console.
Mm-hmm, she murmured, already half inside the life support bay.
The shuttle groaned softly as systems came online that hadn't been powered in years.
CO2 levels are high, she said, but manageable. Scrubbers responding.
That's the nicest thing anyone said to me today, he replied, coaxing power into a stubborn transmitter. Comms arrays, present.
Functional? She asked.
Let's not rush into labels. She huffed quietly, not quite laughter, but close enough to surprise herself. Fresh air began circulating, thin but unmistakable.
Breathing is improving, she said. We won't suffocate. Soon.
Excellent, he said. That was high on my list. He tapped the transmitter again, adjusting frequency ranges manually. If anyone's listening, he muttered, this is an unregistered shuttle departing Dock C. We are intact, alive, and extremely open to assistance. Static answered him. For now. She slid back into her seat, posture relaxing for the first time since the alarms had started.
You are very calm, she observed.
He shrugged. Adrenaline's expensive. I try not to waste it. She studied him again, not as a stranger in a hallway, not as the human who made unnecessary noises, but as the person who had known what mattered, and when. The shuttle continued onward, life support humming weakly but steadily. They weren't rescued yet, they weren't home, but they were breathing, and for the moment, that was enough. The shuttle had settled into a stable drift. Not good orbit, just one that wasn't actively trying to kill them. Life support hummed unevenly but steadily. They worked in parallel silence for a while, checking systems, logging what little functionality they had restored. The crisis had passed, but the adrenaline hadn't fully let go yet. She broke the silence first.
You changed color, she said.
He looked up from the console. I did what?
She gestured vaguely at his face. Just now. Your skin tone shifted. It became red.
He froze. He reached up, rubbing his cheek reflexively. Oh,
She watched him with open curiosity. I didn't know your species changed color.
we don't, he said quickly, then paused. Well, not like that.
She tilted her head. Then what occurred?
He exhaled slowly. You embarrassed me.
She blinked. Embarrassed you?
Yes.
Her brow furrowed. I don't understand. I only stated that you were extremely competent under pressure. That is an objective observation.
He stared at the console very hard, as if the answers might be written there. Yeah, he said. That's kind of the problem. She waited, patient, expectant. When humans experience embarrassment, he said carefully, blood flow increases to the face. It's an involuntary response.
Why?
He opened his mouth, closed it again. Honestly, he said, we've been trying to figure that out for a few thousand years. She watched him for another moment.
So praise causes a visible physiological reaction, she said.
Sometimes, he replied. Not ideal, very inconvenient.
She tilted her head slightly. Why would competence under pressure cause embarrassment?
He hesitated, searching for a version of the answer that didn't make it worse. It's not the praise itself, he said finally. It's the person and the situation.
She frowned faintly. Clarify.
He gestured vaguely between them. Like, if I suddenly said you were beautiful and you weren't expecting it. He stopped. Her skin shifted, brighter, warmer, sliding toward gold.
She turned toward him slowly. You think I am beautiful?
Heat rushed to his face again, stronger this time. I wasn't saying, well, I was just giving an example. I mean, yes, I do, but His face flushed deeper red. She stared at him for a heartbeat longer. Then she laughed. It wasn't loud, just a short, surprised sound like she hadn't known she could make it. Her skin brightened further, a rich, luminous gold that caught the dim shuttle light and reflected it softly.
That, she said, still amused, appears to be a significant reaction.
He rubbed the back of his neck. Told you, very inconvenient. She regarded him with open curiosity now, not analytical, not guarded.
Your species is difficult to read, she said.
Yeah, he agreed. We get that a lot. She nodded slowly as if updating a mental file.
That explains several prior interactions, she said.
He risked a glance at her. Her skin had settled again into soft bronze, steady, calm. I noticed yours too, he said before he could stop himself.
She looked at him. You did?
Yeah, a while ago, in the corridor. He hesitated. One day you were much darker, almost black. Her gaze dropped away from him just slightly. Her bronze dulled, deepening at the edges.
That was sorrow, she said. My mother had died. I had just received the message.
He swallowed. I'm sorry.
She waved it off, not dismissive, just factual. You did not comment.
No. She considered that for a long moment.
That was appropriate, she decided.
A faint warmth returned, barely gold at the edges, as she turned back to her panel. He noticed. This time, he didn't look away. The shuttle continued on through the dark, held together by old metal, borrowed air, and two species quietly learning how the other showed what they felt. For a while, they didn't talk much. They listened for other signals, swept the local bands, watched the black where the station had been, now only a broken silhouette and drifting debris. Nothing. The escape pods had launched clean. Automatic nav, pre-programmed rally points, emergency beacons that would pull them toward the nearest safe port without waiting for permission. That was the entire point of the system. It worked, just not for them. The shuttle, beaten, patched, and held together by stubbornness, had no such protocol. It had a sputtering transmitter, a drifting trajectory, and 2 workers who hadn't been on anyone's evacuation manifest. They were alive. They were also invisible. They had enough food and water for a few days. Maybe more if they rationed aggressively. They inventoried what they'd grabbed, what still worked, what might be coaxed into working, and what was beyond hope. They worked in parallel, as if the act of working itself kept the panic from finding room. At some point, he glanced up from the console and hesitated. He said. She looked over, expectant. I don't even know your name. Her eyes narrowed. The copper of her skin deepened slightly, more red than bronze under the cockpit light.
You called me beautiful, she said, stern as an inspection officer. And you don't even know my name?
He turned red so fast it felt like heat. I wasn't. He coughed once, then gave up. Yeah, okay, fair. She stared at his face for a long beat. Then she laughed, quiet, genuine, and her skin warmed toward gold.
Oh, she said, amused. So now I can make you change color on command.
He groaned softly. Please don't.
I will consider it, she said with theatrical seriousness.
He exhaled, half relief, half resignation. Okay, He stopped, as if suddenly unsure how formal anything should be out here. I'm Jonah. She blinked, the gold fading back toward calm bronze as she filed it away.
I am Sera, she said. Dock systems, 3rd shift.
He nodded. Cargo maintenance, 1st shift, apparently also emergency shuttle mechanic.
Poorly, she said, eyes flicking to a flickering diagnostic line.
He lifted a hand. Hey, we're alive.
That is the lowest standard, she replied.
He smiled anyway. They returned to work. Hours passed in a strange rhythm. Power stabilization, comms tuning, oxygen cycling, heat management, patching what they could, coaxing life from systems that wanted to remain dead. He tried the transmitter again. Static. He tried again on a narrower band. Nothing. Sera checked external telemetry, frowned, and leaned closer.
No pings, she said.
Maybe they haven't started search operations yet, he offered.
She didn't look up. They won't.
He paused. They won't?
The pods are automated, she said. Their systems report success upon launch. Manifest accounted for. Casualty probability calculated. Station flagged abandoned. Rescue assets will be allocated to confirmed anomalies, not hypotheticals.
He stared at her for a second, then nodded slowly. Right, he said quietly. So, we don't exist unless we make ourselves exist. Her skin shifted at the edges, darker, more red than bronze. Not panic, something sharper.
Correct.
They sat with that. Then Jonah leaned back in his seat and stared at the ceiling, eyes unfocused, thinking. We have suits, he said suddenly.
Sera looked at him. We have old suits.
We have 2 old suits, he corrected, and a station full of supplies that no one's using. Her expression didn't change, but her skin cooled a fraction, bronze turning a little flatter.
You are proposing theft.
I'm proposing survival.
The station is corporate property.
He gestured at the dead comms, the patched wiring, the flickering power. The station is abandoned corporate property, he said. They evacuated. They left. They're not coming back for it.
That does not make it yours.
He leaned forward, voice calm, more practical than angry. They abandoned the station, he said, and they abandoned us. If we die being polite, that will be a very principled corpse. Sera stared at him for a long moment. Then she looked away as if weighing the idea against every rule she'd ever followed.
It is still stealing, she said.
Jonah's mouth twitched. Okay.
She turned back. But it may be justified.
He blinked. Was that you agreeing? Her skin warmed almost imperceptibly.
It was me acknowledging reality, she said. Do not make it dramatic.
He held up both hands. No drama, just a plan. Sera exhaled once, then nodded toward the suit lockers.
We will need to verify seal integrity, she said, and patch the microfractures.
Jonah grinned. Now who's stealing? She gave him a flat look that made his cheeks warm again.
Jonah, she said, voice perfectly even. Focus.
He cleared his throat and looked away. Yes, ma'am. Her bronze brightened at the edges, almost gold. And for the first time since the alarms had started, the shuttle felt a little less like a coffin and a little more like a ship. They powered the shuttle down to minimum and coasted the rest of the way in. No thrusters near the station. No unnecessary vibration. The structure was already fragile enough. There was no gravity waiting for them, just drifting debris, loose panels, and the long, silent bulk of Dock C hanging in space like a corpse that hadn't realized it was dead yet. They suited up without ceremony. The suits were old but intact. Pressure seals held. Life support cycled cleanly after the third test. They didn't comment on how lucky that was. They tethered themselves together before opening the hatch. Neither suggested otherwise. The station had no air, no sound, no smell. Just the faint vibration of their own suits and the distant tick of cooling metal through their gloves. They moved the way dock workers always did in zero-G, slow, deliberate pushes, hands finding rails by muscle memory. Bags and crates were clipped together with cord, forming awkward chains that could drag along behind them. Food packs, water bricks, oxygen canisters. Fuel cells were heavier, tools heavier still. They made lists on their forearms in grease pencil. Power couplings, diagnostic units, spare avionics boards, radio components, life support filters, sealant industrial grade. They made several trips. After each one, they returned to the shuttle to pressurize the airlock, recharged the suits, drank water, and checked each other for damage without comment. Then they went back out. The station had been a full repair hub once. It showed. They passed racks of parts still sealed in vacuum wrap. Tool cradles labeled and untouched. Diagnostic frames meant for ships far larger than their little shuttle. They could refurbish the shuttle completely if they wanted to. They didn't. We don't need perfect, Jonah said over the suit comms as he clipped another crate to the chain. We need reliable. Sera acknowledged with a brief click of her mic. They repaired in order of necessity. Life support first, power regulation second, navigation stabilization third. Comfort didn't make the list. They debated briefly taking one of the other ships in the hangar. A corporate transport, still intact. Bigger, safer. Automated systems designed to scream for help the moment anything went wrong. Sera floated beside it, running a gloved hand along the hull.
It would solve many problems, she said.
Jonah looked back at their shuttle, scarred, patched, stubbornly functional. It would also announce us to every patrol, insurer, and corporate recovery team within range, he replied. She considered that.
Then nodded. The shuttle does not ask questions.
No, he agreed. It just works. Mostly. They stayed together when they went to their quarters, always within tether length. Jonah's had been breached, one wall peeled inward like a crushed can. His belongings were scattered or destroyed. He retrieved what survived, a tablet cracked but readable, photos cached locally, a few pieces of clothing from a sealed drawer, and that was all. Sera's quarters had held better. She gathered a small number of personal items, compact, deliberate, a data crystal, a few garments, a metal band she secured to her wrist before resealing the compartment. Neither commented on the other's choices. They found the bodies during the third trip. At first, just one, Then another, drifting near junctions, wedged behind panels, floating where evacuation flow should never have taken them. Too many, more than projections said there should be. They marked positions, logged what IDs they could, moved past without touching anything they didn't need to. Sera's skin darkened under the suit's internal lighting, bronze deepening towards something heavier. Jonah noticed but said nothing. They undocked slowly, careful not to disturb anything that didn't need disturbing. Jonah brought the shuttle around on minimal thrust and let it drift clear of the station's shadow. He left the comms open, broadcasting on every emergency band he could reach. "If anyone's listening," he said again, less joking this time, "this is an unregistered shuttle from Dock C. 2 survivors, requesting assistance." Static answered. But static wasn't silence, not really. They could still hope. The shuttle felt different now, heavier, fuller. Supplies clipped and strapped everywhere. Systems humming that had been dead hours ago. Enough to live, enough to wait. Jonah turned from the controls and froze. Sera hadn't removed her helmet yet. She was sitting very still, hands resting loosely in her lap. Her skin, visible through the suit's inner lighting, had deepened to a rich, dark cherry red. Not the sharp edge of panic. Not the flat dullness of exhaustion. Something else. "Sera," he asked gently, "are you okay?" She didn't answer at first. Then her shoulders hitched. Her voice came through the suit comms, thin and uneven.
"There were so many," she said. "So many dead."
Jonah swallowed. He hadn't counted. He hadn't wanted to. But the image was still there. Bodies drifting in places where people should have been moving, working, surviving.
"I thought more escaped," she continued. "The projections said they should have."
Her voice broke. Jonah didn't think about it. He unlatched his harness and pushed across the small space between them, slow and deliberate so he wouldn't startle her. He reached out. The moment his gloved hand touched her arm, she flinched. Sharp, instinctive. Then she sagged forward, pressing into him as if the tension had finally run out. He wrapped his arms around her carefully, unsure of the boundaries, unsure of the rules. She leaned into him anyway. Her helmet bumped lightly against his shoulder as her body shook, silent sobs pulling through her in short, uneven bursts. The cherry red of her skin darkened further at the edges, then slowly, very slowly, began to soften. Jonah held her. He didn't say anything. He didn't try to fix it. He just stayed. After a while, her breathing evened out. The shaking eased. Her skin shifted again, the deep red fading back toward bronze, streaked faintly with warmer gold where she pressed against him. She didn't pull away. Neither did he. They stayed like that for a while. Jonah didn't know how long. He wasn't watching the clock. He was watching her breathing, waiting for it to even out, waiting for the tremor in her shoulders to finally stop. Eventually it did. Sera shifted slightly, still close, but no longer shaking. Her skin had faded back toward bronze, uneven now, streaked with darker tones like something still settling beneath the surface.
"I thought we were the only ones," she said quietly.
Jonah didn't answer right away. "So did I," he admitted. She leaned back just enough to look at him. Not accusatory, just tired.
"There were so many," she said. "More than there should have been."
He nodded once. "Yeah." They sat in silence for a moment, the hum of life support filling the space between words.
Finally, she asked, "Why us?"
Jonah exhaled slowly. "We were dock workers," he said. "Near the bays, already moving when the alarms hit."
"That doesn't explain it," she replied.
"No," he agreed. "It doesn't."
She looked away, gaze unfocused. "Some of them were closer than we were. Office staff, vendors, people who should have made it."
"I know," he said.
"So, why are we alive?"
Jonah thought carefully before answering. "Because when things go wrong," he said, "we don't wait for instructions." Her jaw tightened. The bronze of her skin darkened slightly, not anger. Something closer to resistance.
"That sounds like luck," she said.
He shook his head. It's not. She didn't respond. We know what failing metal sounds like, he continued. We know which corridors go where without checking maps. We know how long you have before air becomes a problem and when to stop asking permission. She looked at him again.
You're saying they died because they weren't dock workers.
No, he said immediately. I'm saying they died because their jobs never required them to think like this. That landed harder. Her skin darkened again at the edges.
That doesn't make it fair, she said.
No, Jonah said quietly. It doesn't. They sat with that. Then he added softer. We didn't survive because we were lucky, and we didn't survive because we were special. She watched him closely now. We survived because we were good at our jobs, he said, and because we happened to be where those jobs mattered. Her breath caught, not a sob this time, just a sharp inhale.
So if I'd been assigned somewhere else, she said, I'd be...
Yes, he said gently. And if I'd been in an office instead of the bay, I'd be floating out there too. She swallowed.
That doesn't make it better, she said.
No, he agreed, but it makes it real. Her skin shifted again slowly this time. The deep bronze lightened. Not to gold, not to calm, just steadier.
We didn't leave them behind, she said, almost to herself.
No, Jonah said. They were already trapped. She nodded once. Then, after a long moment, she leaned back into him again. Not collapsing this time. Choosing.
Stay, she said quietly.
I'm not going anywhere, he replied. Outside the viewport, Dock C drifted farther into darkness. Silent, broken, and done. Inside the shuttle, two people who had survived for reasons they hadn't asked for sat together, carrying the weight of those who hadn't. And for the first time, Sera let herself believe that surviving didn't require guilt, only honesty. Outside the viewport, the station drifted farther into the dark, silent and indifferent. Inside the shuttle, two survivors sat wrapped in each other's gravity, not rescued yet, but no longer alone. And for now, that mattered more than anything else. They had supplies, plenty of them, food, water, oxygen, spare parts. Enough redundancy to last far longer than either of them had expected. They kept expecting rescue, or at least a patrol, a corporate recovery team. Someone to swing by Dock C and wonder why a repair station had gone silent. No one came. Days passed, then more. Jonah kept the comms cycling through emergency bands, then wider ranges. Automated pings, manual calls, polite requests. Less polite ones. Static answered every time, so they worked. It kept their hands busy. Kept their minds from drifting too far into questions neither of them could answer. The shuttle improved slowly, piece by piece. Life support stabilized. Power regulation smoothed out. Navigation went from barely functional to reliable if you squinted. Eventually, they tested a longer burn, then another. The shuttle held. Somewhere along the way, without either of them saying it out loud, the shuttle stopped being temporary. It became theirs. They organized it accordingly. Each of them claimed a narrow sleeping compartment. Just enough room for a bed bolted to the wall, a small set of drawers, and a locker. Private, functional, respected. There was a shared hygiene unit, too. A shower, technically. They couldn't use it yet.
No gravity, Sera said flatly, floating upside down in the doorway. You shower, and you will simply become wet.
Jonah considered this. I feel like that would solve some problems and create others.
She wrinkled her nose. Your aroma already creates challenges.
He laughed, rubbing the back of his neck. Hey, that's just honest work scent. She made a noise that translated roughly to deep skepticism. He never commented on her smell. Which was fortunate for him because if he had been honest, hers was just as bad. Sharp, metallic, and persistent in a way that clung to recycled air. Possibly worse. Eventually, Jonah leaned back from a panel one cycle later than planned, blinking at a readout. Huh. Sera? He called toward the aft compartments.
Yes? Her voice floated back.
I think I have gravity working. Brace yourself and make sure nothing is floating too high. There was a pause.
Define too high, she called.
Anything you'd be upset about hitting the floor, he replied.
Another pause. Then, okay, give me a moment.
He waited, watching loose tools drift lazily near the ceiling.
All set back here, she said.
Jonah flipped the switch. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then everything settled. Tools dropped softly. Straps went slack. A half-floating crate thumped gently against the deck instead of drifting away forever. No crashes, no alarms. Sera let out a startled laugh from the back of the shuttle. No loud bangs, Jonah said, grinning. I guess we're good? She walked into the cockpit, steps careful at first, then more confident. Her skin brightened slightly, warm bronze catching the light differently now that down existed again.
I believe, she said, this officially makes the shower viable.
Jonah raised a finger. Important follow-up question? First come, first serve, or do we establish a schedule? She smiled, just a little.
We establish rules, she said, so that you do not contaminate the water supply with your aroma.
He laughed, leaning back in his chair. Fair, he said. Completely fair. The shuttle hummed around them, gravity steady, system stable. No rescue beacon lit up the darkness, but the floor was solid beneath their feet, and for now that was enough.
Jonah?
Yeah?
Can you help me for a minute?
Sure. He followed her voice to an access panel halfway down the shuttle's spine. The cover was off, wiring and conduits exposed like ribs. She was wedged halfway inside, one arm buried deep in the compartment. What's up? He asked.
I need another hand, she said. This won't align on its own.
He crouched, then carefully worked his way in beside her. The space was tight, designed for maintenance drones or a very optimistic engineer. Their shoulders brushed as he shifted. They both smelled noticeably better now that gravity existed and showers worked. Clean metal, recycled air, and something warmer underneath. What do you need? He asked.
Hold this pipe up while I bolt it in place.
Sure. He braced the pipe with both hands holding it steady. She worked inches away, focused, methodical, her fingers moving with practiced ease. Without meaning to, his attention drifted. Her face was close. Closer than it had ever been. The copper of her skin caught the light differently in the cramped space. Warmer, softer, calm, focused. She didn't see him looking, but she felt it.
She paused and turned her head slightly. What?
He startled. Oh, sorry. His cheeks flushed pink. She studied him for a second, then smiled. Not gold, not bright, just warm.
Try not to drop it, she said lightly.
Right, he said, swallowing. Pipe, holding pipe. She went back to work, but the space felt smaller now, and neither of them rushed to finish. The shuttle was finished. Not perfect, not pretty, but finished in the only way that mattered. It could go anywhere. They sat together in the cockpit, a starfield scrolling slowly past the viewport as the nav system waited for input.
We should choose somewhere populated, Sera said. Somewhere the pods would have routed.
Jonah nodded. Closest major station. Long-range scans show traffic, emergency response hubs. They didn't say it out loud, but both of them were thinking the same thing. People. They plotted the course and burned hard. The shuttle flew beautifully. When they arrived, docking control didn't believe them at first. Then they checked manifests, then timestamps. The confusion spread quickly. Dock-C survivors, those who had escaped in the pods, stared at them as if they were ghosts. 2 people. 1 battered little shuttle. Nearly 2 months after the station had been written off. They told their story more times than they could count. Not dramatized, not heroic. Just facts. Work, survival, waiting. Somehow that made it worse or better. They became news, interviews, offers, questions they didn't know how to answer. They were called resourceful, resilient, anomalous. Neither of them liked it. Corporate representatives arrived next. Sera's offer came first. Dock Systems, same role. Better pay, formal apology. She accepted. Jonah watched her sign the digital slate, something unreadable passing across his face. She noticed.
What's wrong? She asked quietly later, when the crowd had thinned.
He hesitated. This doesn't feel right.
Her brow furrowed. You don't want your job back?
He shook his head. No, I don't think I do.
What are you going to do then?
He glanced through the viewport, back at the shuttle, their shuttle. I think I'm going to claim salvage rights, he said. Refit it officially. Haul cargo, independent. She was quiet for a moment.
Then she said, That's risky.
He smiled faintly. Yeah. She thought longer this time, then looked at him.
Want a partner?
His smile spread, unguarded, unmistakable. Yes, he said. Yes, I do. He leaned in before he could overthink it. The kiss was tentative, more question than statement. She froze for half a second, then leaned in and answered it. When they pulled apart, her skin had gone softly gold. Neither of them commented. Outside, the station bustled. Life went on. Jobs resumed. Systems logged and filed away, but somewhere between the stars and a patched-together shuttle, two people had chosen something else. And this time, it felt right. The next morning, they walked into the dockyard together. Not as survivors, not as celebrities. Just two workers with a tablet full of forms. The salvage clerk looked up, scanned the documentation, then glanced past them toward the far bay where the shuttle sat, patched, mismatched, and unmistakably old. You sure you want that piece of junk? He asked. It's probably worth more as scrap. We're sure, Jonah said.
We're sure, Sera echoed.
The clerk blinked, shrugged, and tapped a few things into his console. Okay, he said slowly. What name do you want on the registration? Jonah didn't hesitate. He turned to Sera, grin already forming. The safe adjacent? She laughed, bright and unguarded, and nodded. Her skin warmed toward gold.
Yes, she said. That one.
The clerk snorted. I'll never understand you pilots. They didn't start big. They took short hops, light cargo, jobs no one else cared about, low margin, tight schedules, boring routes. The shuttle handled them beautifully. After a few runs, people started to recognize the name. After a few more, they recognized the crew. Some clients booked them because the safe adjacent was cheap, some because it was reliable, most because they wanted to meet the pair who'd survived Dock C in a ship that shouldn't have made it out of the yard. They told the story when asked. They didn't embellish it. They didn't mind that people came for the story. A job was a job. Between runs, they sat in the cockpit and planned the next one. Split profits, adjusted schedules, made small improvements where they mattered. The shuttle remained what it had always been. Not perfect, not flashy. Just enough. And every time Jonah keyed the engines up and Sera checked the manifests, the name on the hull felt less like a joke and more like a promise. They didn't aim for safe. They aimed for adjacent. And somehow, it kept working. The safe adjacent drifted through open space, engines humming at a steady cruise. Nothing urgent on the boards, no traffic conflicts. Just a long, empty stretch between destinations. They were both in the cockpit. Sera sat in the pilot's seat this leg, posture relaxed, hands light on the controls. Jonah lounged in the co-pilot's chair, feet hooked under a strap, half watching the nav display. For a while, there was only the hum of systems and the slow crawl of stars.
Jonah?
He looked over. Something in her tone made him straighten. Not alarm, not humor. Just intent. Yes? He asked a little warily. She didn't look at him right away. Her eyes stayed on the stars.
Do you still think I'm beautiful?
His brain stalled completely. Yeah, he said honestly. More than ever. She nodded once as if confirming a calculation.
Then why haven't you asked me to marry you?
Silence filled the cockpit. Jonah stared at her, then at the console, then back at her. He exhaled slowly. I don't have a good answer. She glanced at him now, one brow lifting slightly. We've just been so busy, he continued, words tumbling out more carefully than he expected. And the topic never really came up, and I didn't know if that's what you wanted. She considered that.
You never asked, she said simply.
He opened his mouth, closed it, then turned fully toward her. Sera,
Yes?
will you marry me? She didn't hesitate.
I thought you'd never ask.
Her skin warmed instantly, bronze shifting toward a soft, luminous gold that filled the cockpit with reflected light. Jonah laughed, breathless and relieved, and leaned over the console to kiss her. The safe adjacent flew on, steady and true, carrying two people who had already chosen each other, finally saying it out loud somewhere between the stars.